Well, welcome back to our final fabulous segment, as I often say here on Cityline. So buckle up and get your popcorn, because I have the Grand Cinema on the show here. And if anybody does popcorn, it's the Grand Cinema. And let's go back to COVID, when there was a line around the building for popcorn. So please join me, because the popcorn makers are in the house, among other things. Welcoming back Philip Cowan. You are the executive director of the Grand Cinema. You have been the keeper of the Grand Cinema for as long as I've lived in Tacoma. I don't know what we would do without you, so don't make it happen, okay?
No, yeah, I've enjoyed it. It's the coolest job you could ever have.
Can you, I mean, you get to go to Sundance and you call it research.
I know, oh yeah.
I
It's
love
hard.
that.
It's cold, you know.
Someone's got to do it.
Right.
Speaking of someone who's got to do it, Mr. Paul Richter, you get to have equally amounts of fun as Mr. Philip does, because you're the director of education. Welcome back to Cityline.
Thank you very much.
And that's a pretty snazzy tie you got there.
Well, thank you.
And are those, is that a daffodil pin that you have on your lapel?
I
Looks
believe
a little
so.
bit like it.
Just
Yeah,
sort of a
little
cute
daffodilians
floral
there. Okay, so Mr. Philip, for those watching who may not know about the Grand Cinema, the first thing we want to say is pull your head out from underneath the rock, because the Grand Cinema is everything to the city of Tacoma. But tell us a little bit about what the cinema does, what it's known for, and what you do.
So yeah, it seems like most people know the Grand and love it, but there are still a segment of people that's not familiar with it. So we're near Wright Park on the corner of 6th and Fawcett, and in the Merlino Arts Building. It was an old Oddfellows Hall built back in the 20s, so it wasn't built as a cinema. But we've been around as a nonprofit since the late 90s. It started as a for-profit cinema, wasn't quite working, and volunteers really stepped up to keep it alive. And that's been a big part of our thing, is volunteers doing things like that. But we do first-run movies, and we're really community-focused on what we show and really quality-focused on what we show. So if you see something at the Grand, you know that we've vetted it and it's a good, strong movie. Probably 80 or 90% of what we show, you're not going to see it elsewhere in Pierce County. So we're trying to really dig up those films that otherwise Pierce County wouldn't get a chance to see.
Yes.
But we're not just films. Everybody knows us for that. We do education. We do youth education. We do filmmaker events for local film competitions. We do an Academy Awards party. Do outdoor movie screenings. We do the Tacoma Film Festival. We do lots of film discussions after them, bring in guests and partner with other organizations. So we're really trying to do a lot of stuff in the community. So I put this offer out there. If you're somebody with an organization that you want to carry a message via film, contact us and we'll see if we can make some event happen.
That's right, that's right. So Paul, one of the things I heard Philip mention was education, obviously. You are a pseudo uncle and parent to a lot of children at the Grand Cinema. So let's talk about what are some of those educational components that the Grand Cinema does for our community, especially those maybe, burgeoning Spielbergs out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we just finished up our biggest kind of education program through the year, which is our summer film camp season.
There it is.
Over 5 different weeks spread out throughout the summer, we had dozens of young filmmakers come, and throughout each week they would learn and explore filmmaking. We would work with different techniques and styles of how to tell stories on film, and at the end of each week they would come out with 4 or 5 new original short films, which were just uploaded to the Grand Cinema's YouTube channel yesterday. So anyone that's interested can check those out. They're available to be viewed, all the films that were worked on by the young filmmakers this summer.
But let's just give them a round of applause.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because these films are precious, they're brilliant, and start making notes, because you're going to be seeing some of these kids walk the red carpet when they grow up, because they're good.
Absolutely, yeah. And we had our advanced film camp this summer, which is something that is a new program, and we really pushed a lot of these filmmakers out of their comfort zones to really grow and explore and really push the skills that they're learning, and they rose to the challenge. We got some great films out of it this year. I
love that. So, Philip, from funding from Tacoma Creates, wow. First off, Tacoma Creates, thank you. They really expand some of the things that both of you have been able to do at the Grand. What comes to mind?
Well, one of the things is they do support some of our education programming. We do some free film camps out in the community too. At Hilltop and Salishan, we did free camps, and that wouldn't happen without Tacoma Creates. And a big thing that a lot of people don't know, Grand movies, with the exception of maybe the first couple weeks of Barbie or some really, really big release, they're free. If you live in Tacoma and you go to school, they are free for films, and that includes UPS, UW Tacoma, things like that. So come see a movie at the Grand for free.
Oh, wow.
Just show that you live in Tacoma, because it's part of that. But they also helped purchase our big outdoor inflatable movie screen that we take out in the community.
In record time, by the way.
Yeah, and so it's during COVID, you couldn't do indoor films, and so we were doing that outdoors. But it's also a really good way for us to not expect people to come to the Grand, that we can take movies out into the community, and that's through Tacoma Creates.
Absolutely, and I'll tell you what, if you driving by the Grand, there's always a line out the door because the programming is so good. Not to mention the popcorn, which I could eat that forever. Paul, for a number of years, the Grand has created programs around topics of science, which, sometimes we think about films and we go more toward flowery type things that people do, not so much science or documentary. Tell us about this change that's happened.
Yeah, so for a number of years, we've participated in a national program called Science on Screen, which is a really great way not only to show films, but to combine them with people who are experts in different scientific fields. So the way it will work is a scientist or professor or expert on a certain hyper-scientific specific topic will come, give a presentation around that topic, and then we'll show a film that is either directly or loosely connected to it.
So I'm going to put you on the spot. How did you connect Oppenheimer?
We actually had someone from Humanities Washington, another organization who came. He has a talk that he gives called Atomic Washington, about the history of atomic energy and power and research in Washington State. And we had a talk with that connected to showing of the film Oppenheimer.
So how did you get connected to the Grand? And how did it really become the Grand that you were connecting to? Did you volunteer? Did you see a movie? What was it that made you say yes?
So I didn't grow up in Tacoma. I came here originally for school. I went to PLU. And within the first couple days of being in Tacoma for the first time, my RA took a bunch of people living in the residence hall I was in to see Little Miss Sunshine at the Grand Cinema. And I kind of fell in love with this tiny hole-in-the-wall place I'd never seen before, and I started going as often as I possibly could. And like Philip said, there were a lot of movies that I was excited to see, but I couldn't find them anywhere other than at the Grand Cinema. And then in 2011, I participated for the first time in what used to be called the 72-Hour Film Festival.
Yes.
Is now called the 253 Film Competition. As a filmmaker, where we make a film in 72 hours. And I've been doing that for as long as it's been, since 2011. And when I saw a job posting for Director of Education at the Grand, I knew the majority of my work experience has been in youth development or education, and I've always loved the Grand Cinema, so it was sort of a pipe dream to be able to combine the two, and it felt like serendipity.
You're still pinching yourself, aren't you?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. How long have you been the Director of Education?
A little over 2 years. I began June 2021.
Oh my gosh, boy, and right in the middle of COVID. Boy, and if that was ever a time to have imagination, you had it. So Philip, one of the cool things I mentioned kind of in the opening about Sundance is you get in your jobs to select the films that play on those screens. How did you discover some of the smaller films that you bring to Tacoma? I mean, do you sleep? Are you up all night looking for films?
It's kind of one of those things where I'm reading all the time. And so I get emails from distributors who are trying to pitch me the films from around the world, but also follow film festivals, read the New York Times reviews for small films. And then I go to Sundance every year and follow. I just kind of keeping my ear open for anything out there. Some of the really small films, I'll get a screener and I'll watch ahead of time at home. I watched one last night actually called Nandor Fodor and the Talking Mongoose.
Oh, are we going to see that on the big screen?
I think we might. Yeah, it's Simon Pegg, and it's a fun little movie. And so I'm really looking for stuff that kind of resonates for Tacoma, but just trying to see as much as I can.
Absolutely. So what are some of those upcoming films that we should be watching for?
Well, there's that one,
There's that one.
which should be coming up. And the clear one is not just upcoming, but still existing. Barbie has been a huge one for us. And again, like I said, most of the time we're playing films that don't play elsewhere, but Barbie really fits because Greta Gerwig has a really strong
We love her.
in background in independent film. And then Oppenheimer is a kind of a period piece, really fits well for us. But we've got a documentary coming up soon called Lakota Nation versus United States, which is really gives a good history of the Native American and the kind of the way they've been treated by their government here.
Absolutely.
So, and we've got cat videos playing right now too. And we got the Tacoma Film Festival coming up in October. So we've got a lot of stuff coming up. Check out our website because the hard thing is a lot of this stuff you will not have heard of otherwise. You just got to, subscribe to our email and find out more.
Absolutely. And I want to put in a plug for membership. Can I do that? Because
Absolutely.
every Friday, my partner and I look at what's playing at the Grand and figure out when we're going to hop into Carina to get something sweet and then eat it and then go to the Grand. So if you want to see great movies at a discounted price, get yourself a membership. Absolutely. Last question for both of you. Volunteers do play an important role in cinema. We've talked about that. How can people get involved? Paul?
There's always information through our website about how to sign up to become a volunteer. We're always looking for more people to help. I like to say that if the Grand Cinema is a ship, then the volunteers are the engine that keeps the ship running.
All right. And Philip, what would you add to that quickly?
Well, and it's also, it doesn't always work this way, but I started as a volunteer there. And we hire through the ranks of volunteers too. And they're just an important part of what we do.
All right. Thank you both for being here today. And I want you back on sooner than later.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Love to be here.
On a programming note, this last week, we lost a member of our TV Tacoma family, Mr. Phil Chang. He was with us for a handful of years. He was my first producer and a lovely individual. And we want to say rest in peace, Mr. Phil Chang. That wraps up another great segment of Cityline. It's always a pleasure and a privilege. Go out there and make it happen. And when you come back, we'll be waiting for you right here at Cityline. Take care.
Green Bay, you're from Atlanta, but Tacoma's where you'll stay, yeah. Tacoma, that's my home, from the pines to the dawn. Tacoma, that's my home, yeah. Tacoma, that's my home. Tacoma, that's my home, place I call my own. Tacoma, that's my home, yeah. Tacoma, that's my home. Alright, you're from the East Coast. Alright, you're from the West. Alright, you're from the middle, but Tacoma's still the best. Alright, you're from the East Coast. Alright, you're from the West. Alright, you're from the middle, but Tacoma's still the best. Hey, Tacoma, that's my home, from the pines to the dawn. Tacoma, that's my home, yeah. Tacoma, that's my home. Tacoma, that's my home, place I call my own. Tacoma, that's my home, yeah. Tacoma, that's my home. Tacoma, that's my home, from the pines to the dawn. Tacoma, that's my home.